it is number 11 in the election at the time that he elected, that he used the organization. I don't know who is he from the grassroots party, but he has posted this message on my post. This person has posted, not on our observers. The name saying Riesay from grassroots party. 17 hours he already posted about his party on the Vice Day. He posted 17 hours. I shot screen at 7:50 today. It is posted on the Vice Day on his political party. We would accept this last question. My respect to Excellency Chairman of the NEC. My respect to Excellency Lục Chum Tios, ladies and gentlemen. Today I feel that the media just asked the same question. I just would like to answer that. When were you born? As the national, international observer, how many times that you have observed, and do you understand about the histories about the budget? Why? He just asked about the budget used for the election, for the democracy. What about the 3 million lives of the people who lost in Pol Pot regime? It is something very unfortunate. I'm Paul Baray. I am the head of the Cambodia coordination. I role as the observer in the election for 7 times already since the 1993 election done by UNTAX. So this is the 6th mandate or 6th time that I observed in the general election, election for the member of National Assembly. The one who suffered is I myself during the Pol Pot regime, 3 years, 8 months, 20 days. I just only very suffering, and with a lot of budget is spent on the national election. Why we need to care about the budget? There is only two trying to spoil the situation. That is the intention. And number 2, try to destroy everything, to make everything zero. For the period of 30 years, I am very sad about this. Why you care about this budget for the elections? It's not much. We care about the peace, about the as the observer. I am very excited to see the situation of the general election. I see that now as Cambodian people we can do. The democracy is already survived. So the budget is spent as the observer. You could witness every polling station from the morning until now. I can see what is going on. We try to organize everything in order to ensure for the sake of the nation. That is something that you care about the budget spent in the election. Why? So what do you want more? For this 7 legislators that I already joined in the election and joined as the observer, why you demand for that such suffering? Please try to address the question. My question is that I want the young media member or the representative to understand about the sufferings that we have come across. My question is that on the preliminary result release, 84%, 84.3% of the voters have turned out. This shows that this is the result that we are very proud of. The Cambodian Cambodian people have turned out in the election to cast their vote. Please acknowledge this result and acknowledge the result of the election. I have been the observed in the election. I have observed the process of the election. Please rise to the points of the question. So the question that I want to know, I already asked the number of the percentage that have turned out. Is it the better result compared to the previous election? Thank you. Thank you very much. This is the percentage that we have received after the checking and verification in paper. If there may be some change, it may be something that is I would like to take this opportunity to express my profound and sincere thanks to our speakers, the member of the media. Now I would like to invite Excellency Chairman of the National Election Committee to have his closing remark. Thank you.
មុននឹងបញ្ចប់ខ្ញុំសូមគោរពនឹងថ្លែងអំណរគុណយ៉ាងជ្រាលជ្រៅខ្ញុំសូមថ្លែងអំណរគុណយ៉ាងជ្រាលជ្រៅចំពោះជាបរិបទទាំងអស់ដែលបានចូលរួមបោះឆ្នោតជ្រើសតាំងតំណាងរាស្ត្រនីតិកាលទី7ឆ្នាំ2023ដែលជាតំណាងជារដ្ឋក្នុងការដឹកនាំyou are representing the people for the promotion of the democracy, multi-party democracy in Cambodia. I would like to express my profound thanks to the permanent committee of the security for the election, the competent authority at all levels, the election officials at all levels, the political party, national and international observers, member of the national and international media, the stakeholders involved and ប្រកបដោយស្មារតីទទួលខុសត្រូវខ្ពស់រួមចំណែកឲ្យការបោះឆ្នោតជ្រើសតាំងតំណាងរាស្ត្រនីតិកាលទី7ឆ្នាំ2023នេះប្រព្រឹត្តទៅដោយជោគជ័យប្រកបដោយសន្តិសុខសុវត្ថិភាពនិងសណ្ដាប់ធ្នាប់សាធារណៈគ្មានអំពើហិង្សាមានការគំរាមកំហែងនិងសូមបន្តដោយសារភាពស្ងប់ស្ងាត់ដើម្បីបង្កបរិយាកាសល្អក្រោយថ្ងៃបោះឆ្នោតនិងរងចាំការប្រកាសលទ្ធផលផ្លូវការនៃការបោះឆ្នោតដោយគរជបជាទីបញ្ចប់ខ្ញុំសូមថ្លែងអំណរគុណចំពោះគ្រប់ភាគីពាក់ព័ន្ធទាំងអស់ដែលបានចូលរួមកិច្ចប្រជុំផ្សព្វផ្សាយនាថ្ងៃនេះនិងសូមជូនពរដល់អាដាមលោកទាវលោកលោកស្រីនៃនាងកញ្ញាទាំងអស់សូមជួបប្រទះតែពុទ្ធពរ4ប្រការគឺអាយុវណ្ណៈសុខៈពលៈកំបីគ្លៀងជាឡើយសូមប្រកាសបិទកិច្ចប្រជុំចាប់ពីពេលនេះតទៅសូមអរគុណ
Watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. So we have just watched a summary of the observer results from today's election. We're going to turn it over to Anthony Ellis, who just attended the meeting, to see what he had to say about the whole matter when he's ready. Until then, about 9.7 voters, Cambodian registered voters, were on the ballot today. About 80, a little over 80% of them showed up. I believe the number was 7,852,085 people, and those are preliminary numbers that are not final. That's how many people showed up to vote. Most of the registered voters were women, and 18 parties were on the ballot this evening. Anthony was out at the polling station earlier today, and it was very clear that the CPP was getting most of the votes, with some of the votes going to Foon Simpek and some of the other 16 parties getting maybe 1 or 2 votes, at least in the room that we observed. So we've just finished up with the preliminary observations. We're going to head over to Anthony Ellis here in a moment, who has listened to that. He's going to give us kind of a breakdown of what was said during the meeting. It was for international observers, of which there were a little over 350. National observers were, I think, about 80 to 90,000. So we've got Anthony Ellis, who has just heard the summary report of the observers at today's elections. Good evening, Anthony.
Good evening, Kristen. Yes, as you would have just heard, the NEC just went through a press conference explaining some of the things they went through, how many observers that did attend. It was over 156,000 local and political observers, 586 international observers from 52 countries. Also spoke about the ID, if the ID was invalid or they'd lost their ID, what the process was to be able to get a form to be able to sign to make sure that's fine. Also there was over 23,000 polling booths. Also about how the counting was done. It was done started counting just after 3 o'clock this afternoon, where they all counted and then marked it up, as we did show later on earlier on today. Also about the observers, how they had free access to anything, they could talk to anyone, take photos, do anything they wanted to do to make sure they could observe and there was nothing doing wrong. Also spoke about the 10 polling booths that had to be moved in the different provinces because of they were damaged or rain had damaged it, they had to move in the last minute. Also said that the voting was about 9.7 million people, it was up from last voting. Also spoke about some of the damages that were done to the ballot papers and computers pre-voting, which there was rectified straight away. Also, all problems were rectified and resolved quite quickly. Also spoke about the security, how things went. They said everything went fine. NEC did say to people out there, don't listen to these people that are citing, try to tell them not to vote or put a cross on the ballot paper to make it invalid. They also said they were happy with the cooperation between NEC and authorities to get everything to run smoothly, because it is a very big day. Preliminary results will be released later on tonight on their website, on their Facebook, on social media, and also through all media throughout Cambodia. Some of the reporters got a chance to ask some questions and got answers. One of the biggest questions was, what will happen to the people that get found out that put an X on the ballot paper? What is NEC going to do and try to help to see what the consequences are and who was behind these sort of things? Also, the question was asked, how many ballots were counted, when will the official results be released? Also got to ask the question that because they're counted by people at the ballot stations, and if there's a mistake or there's a count, well, we're all humans, we can make mistakes. Is there a secondary? Is there another count to make sure it's right? Which they assured, because there's 5 or 6 people in the room counting. The ballot paper is held up so everyone can clearly hear and double check and make sure the number that the announcer from the NEC official said was correct and then marked correctly. So there was 20 eyes on the ballot paper and the counter paper. And also they were happy with the way things went over through today.
Good.
And of course, tomorrow we have our... Sorry?
Well, I was going to ask, did the NEC give any response to what might happen to people who invalidated their ballots today?
Well, they're going to make sure that these are actually correct and they're not false allegations. It's social media. As we know, people can put things on social media. So they want to follow through to make sure what people have put on there that is true. And they said, if you have put it on your Facebook page, well, you've advertised it to people knowing it's against the law, and then they will be dealt with according to what the law is.
And you mentioned that there were 10 voting polling places that had to be moved due to, did you say faulty buildings or leaks or?
Correct. There were old buildings that had been there for a long time, and with the rain that Cambodia's had in the last months, they were a bit damaged, so they had to kind of just relocate the polling booths so people can go to a safer place, make sure the roof or the walls didn't collapse while they're voting.
Gotcha. So everybody was still able to vote at those polling stations.
Sorry, I didn't get that last question.
I just wanted to confirm that the damaged polling stations, people were still able to vote at them. They moved them accordingly.
It wasn't moved today. It had been moved in the last couple of weeks when they were checking on the polling booths to make sure everything was fine. So it didn't actually move today. It has been done in the last couple of weeks.
Okay. Well, any other key points you wanted to touch on?
I think that kind of wraps it up. Like I said, we had a couple of questions asked by reporters and an observer who actually wanted to know why they spent so much money on the elections. But I think, as we all know, elections do cost a lot of money when you go through ballot papers and you go through the ink that needs to be spent and pens and papers and everything has to. We know anywhere around the world elections are not cheap. So unfortunately they did what they had to do, and it was done according to what the NEC laws are, what the Royal Government laws are, and they're happy with the results that has been so far today, and looking forward to, from the meeting tomorrow, from the observers, to see what they observe.
Sure, and I know they're releasing preliminary results tonight. Did they say when official results might be announced? They
didn't say, because there's always got to make sure that the counting's done properly, make sure everything's done. It's got to come throughout Cambodia. You have 7 million votes coming through. There's still polling stations counting and making sure it's done, and then the results will come, and I think over the next week the official results will come out. The preliminary vote, the preliminary results will be announced tonight on their social media, on their website, their Facebook, Twitter, and of course through media. So once we find out through them, we'll then put it through to everyone else.
Okay, great. Well, we will be keeping an eye on that. And thank you so much, Anthony, for your info.
Thank you very much, Christian. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you. So you've been watching EAC News. We just wrapped up a summary of the preliminary observer results for the international observers who witnessed the 7th National Assembly election today in Cambodia. Stay with us. Okay.